Hello once again, and of course this is your City in Action here on Community Access TV. I am Todd Pittenger, your host, news director for KSAL Radio here in Salina. Of course, we talk all things Salina, all things Saline County on your City in Action. Very special guest today, Chris Cotton, right? Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Parks Director, did I get that right?
You did, yes, sir.
For the Salina Parks and Recreation. Chris, first of all, let me welcome you to Salina.
Thank
you haven't
you.
even been here quite a year yet. You started in July, right?
Correct.
So Parks Director since July for Salina Parks and Recreation. Tell me a little about your background.
Well, I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I graduated from Drury University in Springfield, Missouri. Did my master's work down in Texas at the time it's called Southwest Texas State. Now
Right.
it's Texas State University. And I've been in the Parks and Recreation field pretty much my entire career. Started out as a lifeguard in 1988.
See, in 1988, I was a sophomore in college, so I think we're roughly on the same page here.
Yes,
What
sir.
brought you to Salina, Kansas?
My wife is from Tonganoxie, Kansas.
Okay.
And when an opening came up in the state of Kansas, she really encouraged me to look
Right.
at coming back home. So
Happy wife, happy life.
Yep,
So
happy
Mama's happy to be back home with closer to her family, right?
That's right, that's right. So that's what prompted the original application for the position, and here we are 6 months later.
Again, this is your City in Action here on Community Access TV, talking with Chris Cotton, the Parks Director for Salina Parks and Recreation. What are your overall thoughts as you move to Salina? We've got several different parks you manage. We've got a baseball complex, softball complex, a couple of stadiums, soccer complex as well. For a city this size, is that unusual to have as many different entities and locations that we have?
You know, it's a very nice system, especially for a town of 48,000 people. You know, I was in Joplin for several years, and that's a little bit 60,000. But it's a wonderful place, lots of great things to do. Soccer complex, as you mentioned, the State Dean Evans and Matson Fields, the new field house under construction,
Right.
Kenwood Cove,
Yeah.
magnificent water park for a town this size. So there's really a lot going on in this community.
I think what's unique about Salina, and correct me if I'm wrong, several of these entities are a public-private partnership. I think the best example of it right now is the soccer complex because it's finished. Is that unusual for a city this size, public-private partnership?
Public-private partnerships are becoming more and more sought after in communities. It is unusual for a town of this size to have so many, and it's a wonderful thing, and that's a positive thing. not a negative. It's
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
You know, it really shows the dedication to the citizens of how they want the town to grow and prosper.
A little bit specifically about the soccer complex. I was writing stories when it was in the planning process. I've watched it evolve before my eyes. My wife and I like to go out and run/walk. The older we get, it's more walk than run along the levee trails out there, and we walk by there all the time. Tell me about the soccer complex, the way it's evolved. It is a beautiful complex out there.
It's a very nice complex. You know, one of the things that I was asked to look into when I got here was to look at the usage of the soccer complex and how could we improve that,
Right.
make it more of a tournament destination location, and that's some of the things that we've been working on. Obviously, given its close proximity to the river, we have to coordinate a lot of things with the Corps of Engineers as we do things, but we're looking forward to adding lights to fields 1 and 4 here, hopefully by the end of February, early March.
And I think that's a great location for it. Adding lights, you know, a lot of times if you're going to do a light project, it's a facility that's in town, and there's one housing development out there, but otherwise, soccer complex just a little bit outside of town. It's a great location for that, isn't it?
It is, in the fields that we're looking at are actually that neighborhood when the soccer complex being developed, the fields that we ended up doing lights on or going to do lights on, those actually areas were approved by the home association
Oh, very
as, we
nice.
developed it, as the original complex was being developed.
Again, we are talking with Chris Cotton, Parks Director for Salina Parks and Recreation, your City in Action here on Salina Community Access Television. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about Fieldhouse Salina.
Okay.
That's going to be another public-private partnership. Funding is in for it. It's coming up before my eyes. And there for a little while, right around election time, I was doing some election coverage. Literally, I went home from work one night. It was almost 3 o'clock in the morning. The guys were out there working with lights on at 3 o'clock in the morning. That thing is coming up. It's very quickly coming to life. Tell me about the field house and the progress it's making.
Well, you know, and the Fieldhouse project is actually one of the things that really caught my eye when I was looking at the town and the position. You know, it's going to be a wonderful facility.
Yes.
It will definitely not only serve serve as an economic draw to the community, but it'll also help Parks and Recreation as,
Yep.
you know, most of our programs, our indoor programs, have been scattered out through different schools and
Yep.
areas. There, any place we could get space.
A couple guys at the station play what they call town team basketball, and you know those are scattered out. Will all of that be centralized once this happens?
A lot of it will be, and you know, we've reached out to multiple tournament groups, whether it be basketball, volleyball, futsal,
Right.
Indoor soccer. I mean, you name it. If there's a group out there, we've even contacted wheelchair basketball leagues about coming to town and doing tournaments here. So we're really trying to reach out to everybody we can to encourage them to come to Salina.
For those people that might not be familiar with the field house, kind of give me the thumbnail version of what it is. This isn't a gym. This isn't like Planet Fitness or one of the gyms. This is not a gym, is it?
This is 100% athletics. There's no treadmills, no weight room, no pool. It's all basketball, volleyball, soccer. 100%. There's not even locker rooms. It's made to get people in, do sports, and get out.
And I know the design of it. It's made that parking's probably not going to be a problem. You've got a big pickup, drop-off area in front of it. Talk a little bit about some of the aesthetics of it like that.
Well, you know, one of the genius things about the original concept at the field house was it is going to be the anchor to help with some of the downtown redevelopment.
A revitalization of downtown.
And one of the things that's genius about that idea was to limit the parking so people would park in downtown,
Right.
visit the businesses. Genius idea.
Yes.
So there will be obviously limited parking on site, but that doesn't mean there isn't plenty of parking all around it.
The radio station literally is 2 blocks from
Okay.
the Fieldhouse Salina. So I would say selfishly, I'm extremely excited about the project because it's going to spur more development in the downtown area. And it's expected to be a big economic impact because it's going to bring tournaments and such, correct?
It will, and like I said, we've already been reaching out to multiple companies that they specialize in tournaments. And so once we get the facility online and they actually come to town to visit, it'll be even a better selling point to them than it is right now. Because right now,
Right.
it's, all I can do is send them pictures of construction.
Of what it will look like
renderings,
when it's done, right?
But they're very excited.
When's I mentioned that it appears to me from the outside looking in that construction seems to be on pace, going up pretty quick. Weather has helped. We haven't had a lot of horrible weather, not a lot of rain. When is the estimated time when we can maybe start playing games in it?
We're hoping to be finished with construction by the end of May.
Oh, really? So very quickly.
But that being said,
Yes.
we're quickly approaching the brunt of winter,
Yes.
so we could have some
Right.
setbacks. So
So
right now, things have been going pretty well.
So if everything goes as planned, I could say maybe late spring / early summer it should be ready.
It's a possibility, yes.
Again, Chris Cotton we're talking with. This is Your City in Action here on Salina Community Access Television. He is the Parks Director for Salina Parks and Recreation. What are some of the other programs you have going on this winter?
Right now, we have all of our adult leagues, volleyball,
Right.
basketball. We have line dancing going on at some of the neighborhood centers. Just a busy time. You know, we have a lot of new staff. We have a new parks maintenance superintendent. We have a new aquatics director.
Yep.
So we have a bunch of new components to the team, and everybody's trying to get established and get things ready to go for spring and summer.
You kind of coordinate all of this. Is it a challenge to keep staff, to keep people, you've got all these different programs. How do you get people to teach all these? You said line dancing and all these different things. How do you get people to handle that?
Well, we have managers, we have recreation supervisors and sports managers, and we have an aquatics director, and their job is to coordinate all
Right.
that. So we have dedicated staff, and their job is programming. Their job is to find the things that people want to do and make it possible for them to do it.
Well, it's January now, dead of winter. Before we know it, though, summer will be around, and it will be time to open up Kenwood Cove once again. Let's talk just briefly about Kenwood Cove. Your thoughts on that? You came here, you were here in the middle of the summer, you started when it was going. Isn't it a beautiful facility?
It's a wonderful facility. You know, we found a leak. We had a pretty significant leak that we dug up in the off season and repaired. We're doing some work on refurbishing the big water bucket dumping
Yeah.
attraction. We're working on refurbishing that and a few other things. You know, so it's going to be, we're doing some upgrading to some of the equipment, behind the scenes type stuff
Right.
to help with the water clarity. So we're real excited to get it open. And I said we just hired in Jeff Hammond. He comes to us from Florida, where he has a detailed background in running water
I was
parks.
going to say, they probably know a little bit about swimming and water parks in Florida, right?
So he's been on board for about a month now, and so he's starting to make his rounds, starting to work on putting together his hiring policy, and starting to go after lifeguards to get them on board for the busy summer season.
How about that? I'll put you on the spot here. If I wanted to be a lifeguard this coming summer, is now the time where I would start taking classes to get certified and such?
Now would be the time to start to come in to Jeff and say you'd be interested in lifeguarding. He'll have some dates. You have to have some initial screening, make sure you can actually swim.
Sure.
That's a big.
Make sure you're
big deal
strong
with
enough to
lifeguarding.
pull somebody out if you need to.
But yeah, now would be about the time to start thinking about it.
Anything else we need to know about Parks and Recreation?
No, just that we look forward to busy spring, busy summer, and providing services for the people of Salina.
In a perfect world, we would probably never hear from you, because typically the only time that we hear from a guy like you is when something has went wrong, or somebody is mad, or there's been some sort of a disaster. So things are running smoothly at Salina Parks and Recreation, right?
Things are running very smoothly right now. Got a lot of playground upgrades taking place in the off season. One thing that we are working diligently on right now is we're actually spending a lot of time cleaning up the old river channel in Oakdale for the River Festival.
Right.
So we're doing a lot of work right now to make that more aesthetically pleasing for the festival. So the guys are really busy.
You know, for a further program, I want to have you back on this to talk a little bit more about the river, because we're going to revitalize the river as it comes through Salina, and I think a big part of it will be Salina Parks and Recreation. We're going to have trails along it, right?
Yep,
well,
absolutely.
that could be an entire program in itself.
Sure, let me know. Be happy to come over and talk.
Chris Cotton, Parks Director for Salina Parks and Recreation, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
This has been Your City in Action here on Community Access TV.